Hi everyone. So it's Hazel from Empowering Your Circle podcast. And today I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I only met Phoenix a little while ago at a networking. See, networking is brilliant. People need to network. um, but Phoenix had a different job that I hadn't come up against before. So you're all going to find out about it just like I did. But she is the founder of Raise to Rise, which is a fundraising consultancy which supports new and small charities across the UK. So it's very exciting because I had a figure down here, but I've just literally changed it in the last 2 minutes. But in just 2 years, Phoenix has worked with over 34 charities and secured more than £291,000 in funding. So I think that's amazing in 2 years. So, and this obviously in turn helps her clients build their stability and their long term impact. So I'm very excited because there's a lot of people going to learn lots of things from today. So welcome, Phoenix.
Thank you so much for having me, Hazel.
Well, you're welcome. I'm so excited. And that figure jump from 2 minutes ago was like, oh my gosh, that's
Yes. So it's been a crazy start to the year. Um, I work with a fantastic client and we've had two larger bids come back within like a couple of months. So one was for about 30K, and then one was just under 50K. So that was just like wow, 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 what a way to start the year.
I know
But
that's
yeah, so we're just
brilliant.
1,000 away from hitting 300K. So
And
it's
it's
like my mission now.
only the 26th of January. Look,
Yeah,
that sucks. So, so
exactly.
I guess, so I guess what's really important is I've given a very broad overview of what Raise to Rise is, but actually, can you just kind of give an overview of, what led you to create this business and exactly kind of what it is and what charities and other people that you actually work with or for?
Yeah, of course. So as many of us were in another life, I was a corporate girly, working in kind of the tech sector, let's say. And I just got incredibly burnt out. I was the only female manager or like senior manager. I was the youngest senior manager, and just kind of really got like no training, support, like and anything like that at all. So just got really burnt out. And kind of with the support of my amazing partner, I just sort of like quit my job and was like, I just need a break. Like I'm actually, my body feels broken.
Yeah,
Um, so I took a couple of weeks off and then I was like, I'm bored. I was like, do you know what I mean? So I was like, let me get back into volunteering, which I've loved the charity sector and admired the charity sector since I was about 16. And I was like, let me just do some dabble in some volunteering, feel like I'm giving back, doing some good. And I ended up getting involved in fundraising, and it was like spark reignited. It was like, oh my God, I need to be working in the
I
sector.
love
Like,
that.
why have I wasted, my time in corporate? Like, it's not for me. So I ended up getting into fundraising, and was mentored by, yeah, shout out Adam, by an amazing guy who runs a consultancy in Birmingham. And I saw like a real gap in support for small and new charities. So um, absolutely no shade to the larger consultancies already at all, but it's like the small charity contracts are just not worth a lot. The smallest
Right.
contract I offer is 2 hours a week.
Mm.
So it's one full day a month, which is just like not, it's so impactful for a small charity, but as me trying to run a business, it's really small. But so I saw this like real gap in the market for support for small charities, for support for founders and CEOs of small charities who are running these incredibly impactful organizations on like a shoestring budget. They themselves have like five, six roles that they're doing. So I joined the Athena Network in December 2023. You mentioned networking earlier, like it's so incredible to network. They've been like my lifeline, the ladies at Athena. And then January 2024, I launched Raise to Rise, and I think I started off with one client. And then, yeah, in just 2 short years, then I've worked with over, 34 charities, which has just been absolutely incredible. And, that response, I think, shows that leading with, passion, leading with transparency, leading with, really my heart on my sleeve in this sector has just had a phenomenal response.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like it. So you work with small charities and new charities. When you say that, what's the marker for whether it's a small charity or not? And
Um,
also,
so,
what do
oh
you
yeah,
actually
sorry.
do with them? Like,
Yeah, of
if somebody was
course.
going to come to you, what would they come to you to ask for you to do for them?
So, a small charity is kind of anything under 1 million turnover is considered a small charity.
Right.
And 96% of UK registered charities are considered small. So it is, I say a gap in the market, but I mean, it's a huge market.
It
There's a
is a
lot
big
of small
market.
charities out
Wow.
there. And so yeah, that's who I work with mainly. There's been a couple of clients who have been, I would say, kind of small to medium, so just over that kind of mil turnover. But again, it's like a team of one. The fundraising team is a team of one person, so it's like a
Right.
capacity thing, And so in terms of then to answer your follow-up question of kind of what I offer, what I do, my specialty is trust and foundations fundraising. So bid writing, writing, big
Right.
horrible arms that everyone hates, seem to
Yeah.
love for
No
some
one likes
unknown
doing those.
reason. Um, but I do also, support and advise with strategy building. So looking at sustainable strategy, fundraising strategy. I've advised and supported with kind of events projects, with corporate fundraising, with anything to do, looking at your donor journey, looking at just anything and everything. I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I'm incredibly lucky to have had a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. So, and as well, if a charity wants to have a chat and I don't directly know about a subject or a topic, I will likely know someone who does and can, forward them on to a really great contact that I have as well in the sector. I think that community and that network
Yeah,
is a
that's
really
nice.
big thing, which I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just touch on something you said? Because it was quite interesting. What did you mean by the donor journey? So, like,
Oh yeah,
obviously,
sure.
somebody, yeah, it just felt it's just quite, I don't know, sometimes I go off topic,
No,
but
no,
it
no,
just
it's
felt like an
fine.
interesting thing to find out about.
So a donor can be a trust and foundations funder. So let's use one of the absolute cornerstones of the sector as an example, Garfield Weston. They're an amazing foundation. They support so many charities. They are literally propping up the sector at the moment. They're incredible. So they would be a donor. There'd be a trust and foundations donor. Your local community group that did a tea room afternoon and fundraised £1,000 for you as a donor. Um, Jane Smith round the corner who donates £2 a month regular giving to your organisation as a donor. So looking at your donor journeys and your donor retention and your donor relationships is about looking at all of your different donors and how they interact with you, how you interact with them and how you draw them into your community.
Right,
And like looking at building that relationship, making sure that relationship lasts, which then leads to sustainable fundraising. So that is predictable, um, repeated fundraising. So, even down to lovely Miss Jane Smith, who
yeah,
donates, £2 a month towards your charity. She's going to want to know what her £2 a month does,
yeah,
the impact that it has, what the charity's up to at the moment, what you have upcoming, maybe you've got some other events that she'd like to attend. Maybe you've got, a big project that you're wrapping up or you're launching. The more information and the more you draw her into your community, the longer she's going to keep donating that £2 a month. If she starts donating £2 a month and 6 months later she hasn't heard from you, has no idea what you're doing,
Yeah.
she's probably going to cancel that direct debit because
Yeah.
she's like, oh, it's not making an impact. Whereas actually, if you build up your cache of regular small donors, it makes a huge impact.
Yeah.
And again, for the large funders like the amazing Garfield Weston, they want to know what you're doing in your community. They want to know, what you're doing not day-to-day operations, but as in day-to-day, who you're helping, how you're helping them, the impact you're making. And they're an example of a great funder because they want to have that relationship and those conversations with you. They're like the ideal funder. I wish all funders were like Garfield Weston. But
I
yes,
think
so
one of the
sorry.
things,
That is
yeah,
your
no,
donor journey.
no, that's brilliant because actually that's a really good way of everyone understanding it, I think,
Mm,
And for me, I suppose that when you donate, you want to donate knowing something's credible and that
yes.
something's real and that your money is going where it says it's going to go.
Yeah.
Um, and I suppose I've always helped, and I've always, throughout my entire life, my aunt and uncle and my parents were all involved in voluntary things, and I, from a young age, was also, following that quite a lot and doing a lot of those sorts of things. And I remember at one stage, I won't mention, it was a very large charity, but I every year would do a specific cause fundraising thing for them until I found out that the majority of the money that I was putting into was all just going into admin and to pay people, and it wasn't really going where I thought it was going because and the only reason I knew that was because I was invited by somebody to sit in the background and hear about. I think it was more like not an annual general meeting, but something like that. And
Mm.
I sat there and I was horrified, and I thought, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. So I left that charity and I
Yeah.
went on to do, I actually went to smaller charities, things that I
I
looked
think
into and I understood where it was all going and that sort of thing. And I think
yeah.
it's a real onus on a charity to make sure that they are being very credible and transparent and honest. And I suppose smaller charities might be able to do that better than a bigger charity. I don't know.
I think, yeah, I think as well, I say this till I'm blue in the face, like communities and individuals supporting their local charities is like the best possible thing that you can do.
Mm,
It has such an impact, I one of the charities that I currently work with, they recently did their social value like calculation, and they'd actually done over 4,000 they provided over 4,000 journeys for their community. And it was like over £100,000 worth of like
wow.
social value. And it was just like that's a volunteer-led program. That's they do kind of a coordination in the head office, in the office, but it's like a volunteer-led program. It's like real people in the community supporting their community, and it was just like blew me away. But so it's so important for local people to support their local charities. I think just to touch on something really interesting as well, actually, that you said, event fundraising and individual giving creates, unless they launch a specific campaign, i.e., to raise money for a wheelchair accessible vehicle, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
So if just a general fundraising campaign, that's generating unrestricted income for the charity, which is like the unicorn, golden, like golden sprinkle ice cream of all funding for charities. So a lot of the other funding, so like trusts and foundations and things like that, is all restricted income. So you often can't pay staff with restricted. You
Right.
can't pay your utilities. You can't pay for any like software that you might need and use. So when doing kind of more general fundraising, it tends to all go to unrestricted, which would
Right.
be kind of staff costs. I would say though that, these larger multi-million turnover charities, they're not transparent about that. Whereas you're right, a
No.
smaller charity doing that would be more transparent about it. But it is a real tough thing in the sector is to raise this unrestricted income that can be used to pay incredibly hardworking staff. And yeah, so I think it's just important to note that yes, it should be more transparent. But unrestricted is like the hardest thing to fundraise for, kind of across the
Right.
board, really.
Okay. Thank you. Like, thank you for backing that up. Um, so one of the things that's really important, and you mentioned it, like you run your business almost
Mm.
by yourself. I know you've got someone who assists you as well, but for a lot of business owners, um, we run our own businesses. And we know that that can be an isolating thing. Like you feel like you're isolated in a lot of ways. But I guess when you're also working in the charity and you're trying to fundraise, it's your passion. You want to make this charity work and, provide the local area and stuff with what they need. But running that as well is quite isolating as well because you're trying to think about your donors, about things, about all that. And sometimes when you don't have anyone to, talk to or kind of brainstorm with, it's very difficult to think about what the next thing is. So, how important is it for them to be able to maybe branch out and have a you or, a small community around them that can help with that kind of brainstorming and that?
It's so important. I think that, again, to go back to networking that you mentioned earlier, I would not be in my where I am in my business today without my networking, and the fantastic ladies in my Athena network. But that also is so valuable for charities. There are a few specific, like not-for-profit networking circles, but I think actually for charities to join normal business networking is really beneficial. At the end of the day, in a charity, is that profit, that loss, there is that kind of income generation, there is that need for kind of connection, support with marketing, accounts, with all sorts. So actually, charities would find it so beneficial to join their kind of
Yeah.
like local groups. I think one of the well, I would say actually the biggest reason that um a small charity will get me on board is capacity building. I work with some fantastic founders and CEOs that wear about five, six different hats in the organization.
Mm,
And they might be very good at writing. They might be fully proficient to do all of their trust and foundations fundraising. But what they don't have is the time to put into
the
it.
time.
And that's where someone exactly like me can step in and support, and kind of just give them that extra capacity, give them an extra two hands to write with, an extra brain to brainstorm with, and to kind of, I absolutely love collaborating with clients that I have. So working on them, working on applications with them, but also working on like different fundraising ideas, different project ideas, all that kind of stuff. I love being that kind of sounding board for my clients. So yeah, so important to have a network that you can connect with, and then also so important that you're not wearing too many hats
Yeah.
and
You don't want to wear too
literally
many.
burning yourself out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I do think the business networking, and there's a lot of the business networking that have a charity seat in
Yes.
their things. And I don't know exactly how it works, whether it's a reduced amount or it's actually literally, a freebie seat for you to go and sit in, but it's worthwhile having a look at because they're usually in most groups that I've ever seen, there's usually a charity, like a
Mm.
seat there that's kept for like local charities and things. And in the networking that I've done, in the business networking I've done, we always support the local charities in whatever way. Like we had I'm part of the Women in Business Network, but um in one of our Christmas functions, we literally had what is it, like an auction? No, not an auction. What's the other thing? Oh my
Like a
gosh, I've gone.
raffle.
Yeah, like, and so everybody had tickets and everything else, and all the tickets that we
Yeah,
bought all went to the charity. And I can't remember how much we made, but just in one 2 hour slot, you know,
amazing.
they raised quite a lot of money. So I think the thing is, yeah, it's a good place to go and actually get people to know who you are, because sadly, a lot of us don't know our local charities because they're not necessarily impactful enough for us to even know who's around us. So I think it's really important in whichever way we can find out. Um,
100%. And
so
they can't pay for the marketing that these, huge national charities have. Your local charities won't be on your TV because they can't pay for the ads.
no,
They won't be, on Facebook ads because they can't pay for the ads.
no,
So I think get networking. If you're a small charity, get networking, get seen. Your
yes,
visibility
be
is so
seen. Yes,
important.
be seen is very important. Okay, so at the beginning, obviously, and we've talked about it a little bit already, but at the beginning, I shared those powerful stats about how much money you've managed to think, with the funding success. Um,
Mm.
but there's obviously a lot. We've talked about relationship building in terms of networking and things like that. Um, but what level of resilience do people need? Because if one of the things that jumped into my head while I was thinking about the questions for you is that if in the past, before maybe they met you, they've put in funding applications, they've been rejected, you know, they're solo, so they're kind of being disheartened because, like, well, what did I do wrong, or why isn't it for me? And somebody else I know has been given funding, but I haven't been given funding. That's really tough. So you're going to need a lot of resilience, and you need a lot of kind of things to pull you through that you can then lean on for the next time round when I'm assuming it might happen again. So can you kind of give us a bit of a sense of what kind of resilience you might need, but what do you do with these funding applications?
Oh, 100%. It's such a hard sector to be in. You know, you d because I work with so many charities, I would say I've probably got 10 or 11 on my books currently at the moment active. I'm probably getting daily rejections. Like we're probably seeing
Wow.
daily rejection. And it it is so hard to stay really positive and really like enthusiastic and really kind of like, never mind, we'll get the next one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is something that you need to train in yourself and develop that resilience 100%. Going into year 3 now, I'm so used to it. I'm so
I know.
used to
It still can't be
getting
very
no.
easy though, Phoenix.
No, it's not. It's sad, and especially when you've really done your research into the funder, your project really aligns, and you're like in your head, you're like, oh my God, it's in the bag. We've got this. Like, there's no way they could say no, and it comes back with a no, and it is really gutting. I think it's really gutting, but I think let yourself feel that. I think don't try and like smush your emotions down. Don't try and like, shrug it off. Let yourself be sad for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
then make a cup of tea, get a biscuit and crack back on, that is like the whole mindset you've got to have with it. With obviously we've chatted about relationship building. Um, you know, um unsolicited applications, so applying to a funder that you have no existing relationship with, there's about a 19-20% success rate.
Wow.
Whereas applying to a funder that you've built a relationship with, so you're going for repeat funding, is about a 63-64% success rate. So the
Wow.
jump is massive. And speaking to actually interestingly a COO who is now a COO, but he was previously a fundraiser about 20 years ago. He genuinely turned around to me and said, when I fundraised, we didn't need to build relationships, they would just write us checks, which is
Wow.
just insane. The
Wow.
like change in the sector that's happened is now if you don't really have a relationship with a funder, you're just like not likely to get funding at all. So it's almost just like done a total flip. So that donor journey, that donor relationship is so important.
Yeah.
I would say that I think the biggest kind of area I see rejections happening is like eligibility and like research. So I would say like my biggest tip for application writing is really do your research. So really check, who that funder funds, be it CIO, CIC, not for profit. What area are they funding in? Location, what location are they funding in? Sometimes you have to really do a bit of a dig and kind of look at their like charity commission page. They might not have a website. Look at their accounts, check out previous organizations they've funded. And it might be that they don't say that they only fund in Scotland, but you go and check a couple of their previously funded charities and they're only in Scotland. So it's kind of
Right.
like if you're then in the Midlands, there's no point in applying because they clearly favour, Scotland-based charities, for example. So that kind of like initial research, incredibly time consuming, but incredibly important. You do not want to be wasting your time kind of hapdash applying for random trusts that you just might not be eligible for. And I dare say, actually, as well, if you do enough of that, it's really going to damage your reputation in the
Mm.
sector. If you
Right.
kind of become a charity known for just blanket applying to everything, it's going to be quite off-putting, for a prospective funder. But yeah, I hope that I
No,
hope that
it
answers your
does. It does.
question.
It does help, Phoenix. Thank you. So what I was going to say in terms of a new charity, right? So someone's starting up a new charity and they think to themselves, I need to think about where I'm going to find these potential funders to put in an
Yes.
application. What do they do? Like, where do, like if I was setting up a new charity and I was thinking, right, I need to go find someone, I would sit here very blankly by myself for quite a while. I'd probably Google where do I find or whatever. But that to me is one of the hardest steps because you have to then you have to research and do all of that. I get it, but that first
Yes,
bit
100%.
is like, where do I even go? Like, what sort of person am I trying to approach?
So I do have some free resources on my website for new CICs and CIOs. And I have been asked a lot in the past about setting up charities, setting up a CIC, what's the difference, what's the pro and con of both. So I have a lot of free resources on my website about that. I love being able to support and advise people in that kind of stance. I would say as well, another fantastic free resource is Charity Excellence Framework. So you can actually, as an organization, register for free on the website. There are policy drafts, there are information packets. There are, Ian, the founder, is incredible. He is like just such a treasure to the charity sector, honestly. I adore him so much. He's just got such a mindset of kind of having that collective knowledge and sharing it and supporting the sector. He's just such a fantastic person. He does as well, I think, on his YouTube he's got like free webinars and talks and things like that. He's just an epic guy. But on his website is a funding finder, and it's free to access. So you pop in your parameters then, and it actually will spit out a list of
Wow,
opportunities
that's
that
great.
you can apply to. I would say you probably really need to like look at each individual opportunity to double check.
Hmm.
But it's a great free resource for new charities. There's on his website as well are like documents on kind of what a charity needs to be like for their governance, what they need to be to comply with governance, like that. I point everyone to Charity Excellence Framework if they're like new, just starting out, or maybe they've had like a big changeover of trustees and they're looking to kind of like refresh everything. I'm like, Charity Excellence Framework every time.
Oh, excellent. No, that really helps because I was thinking, I don't know, where would people go? Apart from obviously they can speak to you, obviously, but
Yes, of
it's
course.
like,
Yeah.
Where is it?
That's, I think, if you're genuinely starting out and you've got no budget, I offer as much advice and support as I can for free, but obviously, as a small business owner, I have to charge for my services. So
Yeah,
my funding searches are a one-off cost. My writing support has a cost. But if you're new, just starting out and there is like zero budget, Charity Excellence Framework is the way to go to kind of get your knowledge up a little bit, to have a little dabble of what you can apply for, everything like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I will always give away for free as much as I can, but I do need
No,
to pay my bill.
you do. Of course you do. So it's like a small business charity or small charity is listening to you right now.
Yes.
Um, what would you say would be one of the kind of the best packages or the best things that you could offer them?
Um, I I really pride myself on my flexibility and my adaptability. So I actually offer kind of three different kind of support packages.
Yep.
So the smallest kind of contract that I offer of ongoing support, so that's kind of writing, bid writing, that's advice, advocacy, support with strategy, kind of, email support, anything like that. You can give me a call, you can WhatsApp me. The smallest package I offer is 2 hours a week. So that's one full day a month. And that I would say I've got a lot of charities on that at the moment. It's super accessible and affordable for them. We're literally kind of each week then, depending how quickly we can work together, obviously like when charities are juggling multiple hats as well, sometimes it doesn't quite flow. But we're kind of probably every week submitting something or reviewing something, working on something. So it's like a real there's progress. You're making progress each week, even on that kind of small, tiny contract. The kind of mid-size I offer then is 4 hours a week. And then the largest I offer is one full day. So that'd be kind of 4 days a month. Which I would say that kind of, one day a week is more of like me driving that strategy, me kind of really supporting at kind of an organizational level as well, and really helping drive that sustainable fundraising strategy. So kind of advising on much wider areas as well. I found that if it's any more, I kind of need, as in like 2 days a week, I need to be in the office
Hmm.
with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That kind of
yeah, and
one
I
day a
get it.
week is like a really nice balance level then.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, they can find you through Raise to Rise, and I love the name of that. Actually, it's like a really
Thank
cool
you.
name. So, did you come up with it?
Yeah, I ummed and ahed for a while with the name and sort of played around with a few different things with the help of my partner. And I it really so obviously with the name Phoenix, everyone,
Yeah.
it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And I was like, oh, is it too on the nose to do like, Phoenix in my logo or something like that? And actually I was like, well, what are my aims? What am I doing? And it's like, well, I'm helping charities raise money so that they can rise, so that they can thrive, so that they
I
can,
love it.
you know, give the most impact to their communities. So that's kind of how it came about, really.
Oh, I love it. I love the backstories of things as well. Like, it's always good to understand where people come from,
Yes.
and the link with Phoenix as well is quite cool. So, Um, all right. So thank you so much, Phoenix, for being on my podcast. I've learned a lot, I have to say, and therefore I'm assuming so many people that are listening will
I
as
hope so.
well. So yeah, no, they
Thank
will.
you so
And
much, Hazel.
yeah, and I just take my hat off to you for all you've already done in 2 years. So well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a journey. It's been a roller coaster, lots of ups and downs, but like yeah, it's been incredible. I wouldn't change it for a second.
No, and neither should you. And I'm so glad that we met at the networking. See, people that you meet.
Me too.